Actually, I don't know. Right?
Was it usually?
Yeah, yes. There wasn't any in the fridge, I looked. There's nowhere else. No.
I think they're in the kitchen underneath the.
That's more public works, isn't it?
Facilities, public works. Well, see, DJ should be supporting our city water.
Yeah.
Hey, I use it. Promoter.
All right, welcome to the Monday, December 11, 2023 Orono City Council meeting. Note all council members are here and present. And we'll do the pledge of allegiance at the meeting, so I invite you to stand up and join us. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, thanks for that. Next on the agenda is the approval of the agenda, and one vote we will accept the agenda and pass the consent agenda, not go over the consent agenda before we vote on it, see if there's anything anybody wants to talk a little bit more about. So with that said, would somebody like to take a look at the consent agenda tonight?
Thank you for the water.
Yes, thank you.
I'll take care of it this evening. And make a motion to accept items 1 through 18 as listed in the consent agenda.
Thoughts on it? Okay, with that, so we got 1 through 18 on the consent agenda tonight. 1 is the city council meeting minutes of November 27th. 2 is the city council work session minutes of November 27th. 3 is city council closed session minutes of December 4th. 4 is claims and bills. 5 is approved next work session draft agenda. 6 is approval of rental licenses. 7 is retirement of police K-9 Xerxes. I'm sorry to see Xerxes go. Where's the chief? He's not here.
And, thanks to North Shore Marina, who
Funded all those years.
funded it for the years.
Number 8 is to appoint election judges and establish absentee ballot board, resolution 7434. 9 is authorization to accept resignation of Barry Sullivan. 10 is approval to hire a custodian. 11 is appointment of a finance director, Maggie Lynn, is that right?
Jen.
Jen.
Jan.
Jan, that's right, 'cause she got married, so we're,
Welcome back.
Me and Councilmember Benson had interviewed her with Adam and Christine, and she's a fabulous choice. She had been here before, and I know Ron speaks very highly of her, so he says we're actually very lucky to have her, so we feel very lucky to have her, so we appreciate the work of keeping in touch with her as well, so. Number 13 is the Men's City Code Government Operations Ordinance 286. 14 is the Men's City Code Fire Prevention and Fire Safety Standards Ordinance 287. 15 is LA 23-60, Brian Benson. 3600 Casco Avenue, Variance Resolution 7432. 16 is personnel policy updates. 17 is employee pay scale adjustments, Resolution 7443. 18 is LA 23-61, Amy Eatman with Outdoor Escapes on behalf of Jeremy and Stephanie Tom. 2601 Casco Point Road Variance, Resolution 7433. That's it. So any of those items that got taken off the agenda today, we're not talking about. You see none, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Mr. Johnson, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, no, that passes 5-0. That will bring us to our community development report, which will hit number 19, which is LA 23-45, Aletti, Anderson, vacation of right-of-way between 1250 and 1260 Smithfield. No.
Thank you. The applicants are requesting to vacate the unapproved right-of-way situated between 1250 and 1260 Spruce Place, owned by the applicants. This unimproved right-of-way terminates at the lake. The right-of-way contains riprap spillways facilitating overland drainage from Spruce Place, retaining walls, and approximately 900 square feet of the Easley's driveway, which accesses their sidewalk garage. In November, the Planning Commission held a public hearing. Following the public hearing, the Commission voted 5-0 on a motion in favor of vacation with the condition that the city maintain a drainage easement. There was quite a bit of discussion at that meeting, both by the Planning Commission and the public. The applicant stated they are amenable to the city maintaining a drainage easement over that area. Supportive comments from the neighbors were received at the meeting and in writing. Adam Edwards provided comment on the request in opposition of the vacation. He indicated that the site serves as a drainage way for the area and it is identified as a possible future public access to the lake. Areas that provide a public purpose should not be vacated. Access to the lake for the public is provided by Sandy Beach to the south and the city's fishing dock off of Loma Linda Avenue to the north, and both are within 500 feet of this location. The challenge with vacating rights of way is that vacation is the final action. Should the public or the city have access or facility needs in the future, the cost to reacquire the property would be at a premium. Staff recommends denial of the vacation request at this time as there is currently a public benefit for drainage purposes. And the future use of the land is yet undetermined. Should the council find that the right-of-way does not have a public purpose and determines vacation is appropriate, staff does recommend that the city maintain a drainage easement over the area. Tonight, council should direct staff to draft a resolution reflecting your decision. I can answer questions if you have any, and Adam can as well.
Any questions for staff? As I know, I think we have the applicant here, I'm assuming. Is the applicant here tonight? You are, okay. Any questions for staff? Hey, would the applicant like to come up and talk about your item there? I know we're at planning commission, so.
Yeah, I spoke previously at the planning commission. I don't have a ton to say, other than, this property has been in our family since 1972. We have maintained this property for more than 50 years, along with our neighbor Jim Easley here. And we have installed more than $20,000 worth of riprap on the shoreline. We have managed the drainage. I have installed a $15,000 drain system in my own basement because it drains directly into my basement and at a lot of times during the year. In 1979, my mother had a letter from the city. She came before the council and they deemed it not appropriate for any type of city purpose because it is a watershed. So at times when it rains, it will fill up 3 to 6 feet wide. There's really no way that the public's ever going to use it as an access. And just down the street, about 4 houses, there's a lovely lake access that is maintained by the city. They do mow it and they take care of it. There's also, as mentioned, to the left of us, within 500 feet, there's the Loma Linda Lake access, which has a public dock. And then there's also a public access at Sandy Beach. So there are actually 3 public lake accesses that are very close to this property. And being able to split this with our neighbors, we would be able to make some much needed improvements to both of our properties. The Easleys would be able to pave their driveway. It is the only unpaved gravel driveway on our street currently. And we will have a safer, better access to their garage. So these are kind of all the reasons why we would like to see this split between our 2 properties. And again, it's just something that we've been paying to mow and maintain for nearly 50 years. So that is kind of all I have to say about it. Thank you.
I have a question for you.
Yes.
So, have you notified the city that there was some issues with drainage there along the way?
No, we've been maintaining it for so long, and we had a much bigger city problem with the sewer at the end of the street that we really focused on that being fixed, and my mother actually did get that, the city to put in a new, I can't remember what it's called, but some type of pump. We are the lowest point in the neighborhood.
The lift station?
A lift station that she worked on for about 20 years, and it finally was passed, and it's fantastic. But we used to have a lot of sewer backup in our basement, so that was the one battle that we really chose to fight there. And my mother is a conservative, naturalist, and she'd done a lot of work too. When she bought the house, it was a big money mess. It was full of old tires and bottles and rebar, and it was that 40 feet of just mud. And through the years, she did a lot to maintain it, put some nice boulders in, plant all the grass that would then drain the water from the street into the lake without it being kind of a muddy mess. And so to note also, there's also a drainage that happens on 1230 Spruce Place. So 3 three houses up, there's another, what you would call like a public drainage site, but it's on private property. So there's actually a culvert that runs through their property to drain, so that's just something to note, that I think even though this would be on private property, that's never been an issue for the last, I think they've owned it 70 years, that house, so. And we're happy to have the city have an easement there to, you know, take care of any drainage problems that might arise.
I know, it's, the one down the street is obviously a pretty large, lake access. You've got a bunch of lake accesses. Obviously, it's been uncontested that we know that this is kind of a water area that goes down.
Yep.
And so I know, and thank you for saying that, you don't have any problem with keeping an easement.
No,
there,
not at
sure.
all.
I know a lot of people make a big issue about the DNR sends a letter, they don't recommend doing it, but the DNR as we all know up here, at least have been doing this for the DNR, as per their policy, always says no. Now, historically, just to give you a little perspective too, before we redid our comprehensive plan, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever it was, that was our policy as well. But we took a little more proactive approach to that because we have a lot of issues and things like this around the community that are old fire lanes, old roads that go into the lake that don't exist anymore. And we changed that because we thought common sense should prevail and that we should at least look at these on a case-by-case basis to see if it makes sense to clean it up and not just get rid of it, but clean it up so it makes sense for the property owners and if there are lake accesses. And it seems like from my perspective, this kind of fits all those requirements. You've got all the different lake accesses around you, it's not an issue. This is kind of an old fire remnant, as well, and a watershed issue, and so I think I'd be definitely very supportive of doing it, but keeping the easement on there
I think that
for the water drainage, for sure.
Yeah.
I have a question. I don't know if it's for you or the other homeowner, though, the driveway issue, is that in that's not your property?
That is Jim Easley's, who's
Okay.
here, and, you know, the home was built so long ago that you could see that their property line actually ends kind of right at that apron of their garage, and it would be really impossible to access if they weren't able to kind of use that area there. So that would be, again, a big improvement to both their home and the neighborhood.
So I do have a question then, if you're
Sure.
Thank you. So it sounds like part of the issue here is erosion or gravel that is moving around or moving toward the lake. And I'm wondering if this issue has ever been addressed historically through any variance requests or any other sort of formal process with the city?
Nothing formal. We just paid the guy to come and move the gravel back and take it out of the grass. It happens every year. We're kind of used to it. And, you know, I think a resolution for this issue would certainly help us plan for having the driveway paved and controlling the water.
It is interesting, because I think it must have been somebody's mom who found a letter from the city back in 1970.
That was mine, yeah.
I think your mom was here, a couple of comments, if I remember, not public comments, but the planning commission.
Yeah, and that was when it was deemed not suitable for a public access in that document, so.
Yeah, I don't see how people could get down to the water, because there are trees that are planted in the space. And then it's just, there's not enough room, especially when it's raining. There's just water that's flowing through there. And, you know, down where it's close to the lake shore, it can get 15 to 20 feet wide, as far as the path of water. So it's much flatter there, it's not contained, you know, and so it just kind of flows in. But it's much wider, so,
Thanks.
any other questions?
That is your gravel driveway that goes all the way across there now?
Yes, it is. Our lot line currently is about where the telephone pole is.
Yeah.
And it runs, just to the left, to the lake shore. There is, it's just, so that our lot line currently is just a little bit north of the spillway on the west side.
So you've been unable to pave that because it's on city property? Is there an easement for that driveway across there?
There's not, well, what you would need there is an encroachment agreement.
Yeah.
which will, just as a, also a point, so even if this is turned into a drainage easement, we will still need encroachment agreements for things like driveways, spillways, retaining walls, structures that would sit inside of our drainage easement.
And does this change the hardcover calculations then as well?
So this
What do you
is,
mean?
For each property? If you-
Oh.
Lots get larger.
Add square footage.
So it's-
More.
As a public right of way, it's not, it's excluded.
Right.
If it is vacated, divided in half, then their property, they're obviously fair.
So part of the reason we have not pursued any kind of improvement with the gravel driveway is that we have a water problem with the garage. We have some very mature maple trees on the other side, and they represent the high point in the yard, and so the drainage goes into our garage, and there really isn't anything we can do about it except a major fix. And so, in lieu of doing something that's gonna have to get ripped out later on, we thought, let's plan for this and see where we want to go, with improvements to the garage before we take on, anything else.
have we ever done in the city, an encroachment agreement to allow a homeowner to pave part of a driveway in a public right of way for lake access?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any questions for the applicant?
Thank you.
Can anyone else have a quick comment?
Sure.
Thank you. Gene Nygaard, 1386 West Point Road, Orono. I put in for a minor property line adjustment years ago, and I completely understand why you guys are doing what you're doing, and nothing against you. But here I am, looking at someone who put a driveway in city property, and you're about to give him the property, and for some reason, my minor property line adjustment that nobody knew about, you guys spent all kinds of time figuring out some minor technicality to prevent me from doing it, even though I own both properties. So I just want to point out for here, because y'all know we're in litigation. I just want to point out for here right now, that our minor property line adjustment that made no effect on the city, compared to what this is, was completely denied and worked out for denial by
Do
you
you have
guys.
something to say on
and-
this item in particular, not your
And
litigation?
this item in particular is going, you are actually giving them city property to do. I'm sorry, I'm beside myself. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
I'd just like to add that we didn't make any changes to the driveway since we moved there. It existed that way a number of years before we bought it. So,
When did you move there again?
2000.
Any thoughts?
Yeah, so I thought a couple of things, I guess. So I heard the applicant mention that from the 60s, they had that the city had no use for it, but I read in my packet here that the city saw that it was a potential public use for access.
When the Parks Commission did the last look at lake access points, it was one that was identified as maybe we look at again in the future. About, was it 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we did a project where we now marked 15 of the lake accesses that had the most promise and immediate use for pedestrian access down to the lake shore. This didn't make the cut for that, but it was one of the ones that was moving against to look at again in the future.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, I'm not as comfortable about giving up this,
And just one last point I forgot to make, sorry. In the 50 years that my family has owned this property, no one has used this as a public access. So the one that is up the street from us, the 3 horses up, is very heavily used for ATVs, for snowmobiles, for people going on the lake to fish. So when we just talk about it being a public access, the other 2 are maintained and safe, and they're much easier to access, and no one, even the people across the street from us, have ever used it. So there are, much better accesses that we have within a very taken area.
So, one public benefit that this provides we have the busiest fishing shoreline that you can imagine. I mean, we have boats coming there every day, and they're all fishing because the spillway creates an ideal fishing location, I guess. So as a public good, it serves a pretty nice purpose. You know, I don't have to go looking for the fish, I can just cast offshore. And you know, there's just lots of people that are enjoying that part of the lake for that purpose. So just wanted to mention that.
Okay, so, yeah, so I mean, we've kind of identified this even on the fringe of being a possible site to look back at. I'm more comfortable, you know, coming back with, you know, I'm not sure why the driveway of the property to the north there the driveway needs to come all the way to the edge of this. But we definitely need to have an agreement in place for that. And, you know, if the city's land is causing problems for the property owners, that's why I asked if we had contacted the city. I wanted to make sure that we were doing our part, but we need to make sure that we're maintaining them to the point where we're not causing problems to the neighboring properties. I think they can, let's see, we need to clean up that corner, and we can do that through an easement, that's how I see it.
Can we see the overhead view again?
There. Oh, can you go back? No, there.
So it's that strip there.
You see how they have their gravel?
Yeah, I'll get a picture of it on Google Earth too on my phone.
But Matt, you're suggesting to go with what the board said in their 5-0 vote? And,
I'm sorry?
I mean, you're saying to move forward with maintaining the drainage easement?
No, I'm talking about not granting the vacation, and if staff can work with the applicant to the north to find a reasonable easement agreement over the top of encroachment, I'm sorry. Okay. An encroachment agreement with the applicant to the north. I don't know what's reasonable. That seems excessive to me. It's there, you know, the long driveway that's there right now, but I'd leave that to staff to work with them on that.
I guess I'd be in favor of what the planning commission said, only because we gave ourselves flexibility on these items to clean neighborhoods up when we have lots of different additional access points that are just houses away. And this is an old fire lane that doesn't exist for a fire lane purpose anymore, but it does serve a drainage issue, and that we would want to keep, for sure.
So I'd like to go through a couple of things here. The bar for vacation of public land in Orono is high by design, and we're a lakeshore city that has a finite number of city-owned access points. And as I consider this application, I think it's important to remember that public land is a precious resource that requires oversight, because when our city decides to vacate land, typically that's not going to return to the public. And in terms of how this request affects our city as a whole, I think it's important to look at this request in the context of history. And I did check with staff to understand a little bit more about how many lake access points we have. And the number is, it was about 41 5 years ago, and today it's 39. So we've decreased the number, and we're likely not going to make any more of this in the future. So the considerations I'm thinking of as I deliberate on this vacation request is, one, whether or not this request aligns with our 2040 comprehensive plan. And in that plan, it states that Orono will maintain lake access for all residents And it's the city's intent to permanently retain for public use all existing lake access corridors and fire lanes regardless of the current level of use or maintenance. So whether the public is actively using a right-of-way is not necessarily a factor in assessing its worth to the city or the public. And the city's guiding document states that the intention is to retain these public lands. My second point is that this vacation is not supported by city staff, whether it be the engineer or the community development planning department. One, because it serves a public drainage benefit and possible potential use. And number two, because vacations are permanent. And the DNR said essentially the same thing. And number four, the issues are real ones as they relate to the erosion issue, which is why I asked that question about whether or not that issue could be addressed in a different format and whether or not a variance or encroachment agreement has been considered in the past, because it seems to me a more reasonable way of assessing this within the context of what's being asked. And I don't believe that necessarily a vacation of public land is required here. And it doesn't sound like that's been entertained. And that's, I believe, the point that Councilmember Johnson was addressing a moment ago. And finally, the state statutes support this vacation request. The state statute reads that no vacation shall be made unless it appears in the interest of the public to do so. And I think that the crux of the matter here is that there's not a clear and identifiable benefit to the public at large with relation to the vacation request. And I think it's easy with some of these looks that we're doing at these public right-of-ways to begin to consider that the city must assess or justify its use or how it is using public land, especially when there's brush on the site or when it's an undesirable piece of land or there's a steep slope. I think it's easy to get in the habit of saying, well, how is the city using that land, rather than saying, by vacating it, what are we doing to serve the public at large? And it's clear that it may benefit the folks in that street or in the neighboring properties, but I struggle to see how that's going to benefit the Orono public at large or the public beyond that. And also the factor here of precedent and setting a precedent of addressing what may be a real issue regarding erosion by looking at the vacation of public land. That does not seem necessary in this case. So I'm not supportive of the idea of vacating public land to resolve an issue that is a real one for sure, but an issue that might be looked at being resolved in a different way. And I would look to staff for some guidance on that. It sounds like there is some history there with regard to working with issues where a driveway placement or drainage issues may be impacting people negatively.
I guess I just would defer back to public access being a few houses down, correct? And that's where I think sometimes when you have multiple access points, there is danger involved in not having a clear streamlined approach. So if we were to do improvements and better markings, would your resources be better spent and possibly safer if you had all entrances and exits clearly marked? And if we can't do that, there could be a safety risk. I did listen to the Parks Commission and their thoughts on it, and think with some encroachment within the easement and drainage easement, I think were the two items that I think were for sure necessary, but seems very, I don't know, desirable by everybody, I think. I would be in favor.
I don't need as much time to say that I think it does meet the qualifications for doing what we have to do, and I'll just get to it, because I will just then make a motion to to have staff bring a resolution to vacate the right-of-way with the drainage easement, as well as an encroachment agreement regarding the items that are in the easement.
I'd still like to chat about this for a little bit.
Okay, that's
Just
the whole
a
discussion.
little bit more. With these interesting things that we have throughout the city, I think it has been our obligation to clean some of these issues up. And I guess if we can so forth, and never will be. So the benefit to the city, for the most part, is nil. So as long as, and unfortunately, electronically, I'm not working real well tonight. I know, sorry. So, but I don't think that, if there is another access point in the area and it's more accessible and clearly marked, I'm comfortable with vacation. The planning commission was for it.
I'd like to understand a little bit more, because to my reading with state statute and with the comp plan, it's not an indication of whether or not there are other accesses close by. It's an indication of whether or not there's a public benefit to vacating the property in question here. To my reading, there's
Well,
nothing saying that.
the two residents also, I would think, constitute the benefit, and they are part of the
The public benefit, we can come up with a.
Yeah, they are part of the public.
Melanie, would you mind speaking to that? Because from my reading again, with the comp plan and with state statute, I'm trying to understand a little bit more about, there's not an obligation on the part of the city to vacate land just because there is a better access point or clearly marked one 500 feet away. That's not necessarily a determining factor in whether or not we vacate this public land.
But the public land, I mean, isn't it a benefit to the public to have those tax dollars?
Your taxes talk about a bunch of different public issues. It's not a requirement that there's public accesses. We have the ability, because we did change the comp plan, to take the common sense approach to be able to look at what makes sense from our standpoint, and then not just say no, not just say yes, but take all the circumstances into, into consideration and make a decision.
Yeah, that makes
The
sense.
drainage easement, let me just clarify, the drainage easement will still be there,
Yes.
correct?
Yes. That's what that's what my motion.
Give a motion.
The mayor's motion was to
Okay.
establish, to vacate the existing easement and establish a new easement for drainage.
Okay.
Is in essence what.
Okay.
Do the right of way with the easement and an encroachment agreement with the stuff within the easement, which then covers kind of the whole kit and caboodle. So I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second, unless there's.
Can I put a friendly amendment to that?
Sure. I will listen to the family member.
Listen. Can we have a pedestrian, access over the top or with the utility easement?
So, in essence, that's what you have now.
Yeah.
That's what you have.
That's what you have now.
Right.
Yeah.
So right now we have a right of way, which is the most generous to the city easement we can have.
Right.
It's as if it's our own property. So the way it is now, that allows, transportation across that easement, as well as the various different kinds of utilities. In this case, the utility that is a form of stormwater utility. So when you take it and change it from, and Soren can jump in, I see him nodding. When you take and change it from a right of way to a drainage easement, it's still an easement. You've just reduced the benefits to the city for that easement. I said that right?
Limited, yes, because right
Limited.
now it's an easement, we're just minimizing the easement
To drainage.
to drainage.
If you added back in transportation over the site, then we're basically back to, in essence, a right of way.
Can you show us the other one that's close by?
Yes.
There's actually
One. Oh, sorry. I don't know.
There's three. Yes, there's the blue.
Yeah, while she's looking this up, I just want to put on the record, I think we've met every threshold. I mean, I think we've met the threshold of vacating this, so I want to be clear.
And all the other ones as well.
Yes, and so I'm not disputing that, but, I think we can do it with a encroachment agreement, but I just wanted to say I wasn't in, I believe we've met the threshold to vacate. That's not my goal, what is it?
Let's finish this, move on to the whole bunch.
Yeah. So I'll remove my friendly amendment,
Okay.
which was never adopted in the first place.
I do have a motion in a second.
Yeah, and
I'm calling for the vote. So all in favor, say aye.
I just want to make sure you won't listen to anything else I have to say.
I'm calling for the vote. So all in favor, say aye.
I prefer to listen first. I would like to make sure I heard it. No, this is my first time hearing this.
The mayor called the vote, so I'm
I
going
call the vote, so all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
to. No.
Okay, it passes 3-2, thank you. But I want to get in touch with Melanie,
Yes, who seconded that, please?
Maria. And you should probably get in touch with Melanie or somebody for the job lot enforcement agreement.
Yep, I'll work on that, yep, and then we'll bring that back at the next.
Oh, yeah, that's right, because you're going to bring it back.
Yep, thank you.
Okay, and then we'll bring in generally any more community development report. I don't see Laura here, so
Laura's out sick today, so.
you probably have a slide for us though.
Ron has included it in his finance.
Okay. So anything else from you, Melanie, then?
No, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, that brings to our finance report with Ron Wilson, his last meeting here. We're fortunate.
Hey, come on, here for Ron, everybody. Let's go, this guy's been here a lot of years. Woo!
Okay. Okay, so we have number 20, which is about 2024 Long Lake Fire.
That one is actually misread words.
Before you, you have the adoption of the 2024 Long Lake Fire Operating Budget. This was first provided to the council back in September at the time that the preliminary budget or preliminary levy was set. It was tabled at that point as far as the approval of this budget, and staff was directed to go back, as was the Fire Advisory Board, work with the city of Long Lake on adjusting the budget. The budget that you have before you is an adjusted budget. Now, it's a bit nuanced. The overall Long Lake Fire budget remains the same, so there was no change. There's some minor moves within the budget, but the end number for the budget remains the same. What has changed is the distribution. So worked with Long Lake, and they did acknowledge the reduction of the Navarre area does reduce Orono's portion of that budget by acknowledging the reduction in the land value and the reduction in the average number of fire calls that are both factors in how the allocation of the budget is done. So you can see that in there. We need to do this vote in two pieces due to a conflict of interest concern. So as I wrote the council action, I did divide it into two pieces. One is to look at approving the Long Lake Fire operating budget for 2024 as written, less the wage increases and the duty crew portion of the budget, and then a second motion to consider those two items, the latter vote on those two items, Councilmember Beach, I believe, was intending to recuse herself from, since she is related to a firefighter that would directly benefit from those items.
Gotta give them more credit.
So the operation budget's gonna be one with the duty crew or with the?
I divided it into two, so I took the, and just so we're clear, both votes will have to carry.
Would you pull it up on the screen, please?
Both votes will have to carry in order for the budget to be approved.
Can I see it on the big screen?
Yes.
Try to find it.
Thank you.
Yeah, one is the motion to approve the budget, less pay and duty crew budget lines, and then the second one is again approve the budget, which is the call and training, fire call and training pay increases. So two separate motions, two separate goals within that item.
But it is just the wages by itself,
Yes,
right?
the wages,
Duty crew and operational budget minus wages.
duty crew and wages are separate.
Are separate?
Yeah,
Duty crew is a wage.
yeah, duty crew is a wage, so we take that and the actual wages and the duty crew out as the first item.
And do you have a conflict of interest on the duty crew vote?
Because it could be a wage. So I consulted with Soren and got the advice and asked if we could separate it because I wanted to be able to vote on the budget.
So there, I pulled it up how I tried to write the council action request. So first one there, motion to approve the 2024 Long Lake Fire operating budget, less pay and duty crew budget, the budget lines. And then the second motion would be to approve the budget, fire call training pay increases in the duty crew, which are those other pieces. So again, combined together is an approval of the budget.
So do you have any more just details on the budget itself and what you worked out and what's still to be worked out as we kind of go a little bit? Sure.
So just some highlights for the 2024 budget, some things that make it different than previous budget years, which were much more straightforward. So the first we've already alluded to is the Long Lake Fire has implemented a volunteer duty crew program. They did a pilot program this year using their state safety dollars or grants dollars. And so in the budget, there is an inclusion of continuing that program into 2024 as a budgeted item. So that is one of the items that's different. And then I did in the packet, as I think it's Exhibit C, I put in what the Long Lake Fire Chief had put together as the program, kind of outlining the program and what its purpose is for. And they are, the program is aimed at targeting service times with the goal of getting those duty crews out the door in 2 minutes. And also, I think also of key importance is the improvement of firefighter skill levels by providing additional training opportunities to those firefighters who take advantage of the duty crew pay. So, if they're coming on shift for 4 hours and there isn't a call out, they're not just sitting there, they're doing training. So the 2024 budget includes that. The one thing we did talk about, at least at the staff level, back and forth, was that this is still an early program. It still needs adjustments. They're still refining how it works from what they originally set out, and that the idea would be to continue to provide updates via the Fire Advisory Board, which all the partnering cities sit on, so that the cities will still have an opportunity to provide feedback. The second thing I already mentioned too is the allocation formula portion. So the reduction of the Navarre service area, which begins in July of 2024, drastically impacts the way that allocation formula works. The budget that you received in September, we didn't back that out. We had planned staff to back that out once we got there, so that we would approve a budget with all that in. But then, the way that it would be allocated, the actuals will be allocated as we got to the third and fourth quarter. We'll be using the new allocation. But in the interim time, we were able to apply the new allocation formula.
When you say staff to staff, you mean our staff and Long Lake staff?
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yep.
So that is backed out of the numbers now.
It is backed out of the numbers. That's the reason you see a reduction from what you originally saw in September. And then finally, I think the third big piece of what makes this budget different than past budgets is that it does include a substantial wage increase for the firefighters, something that's probably long overdue. And the budget proposal as presented increases the hourly wage for the paid on-call firefighters from $13 an hour for training or for response to $15.65 an hour. And I will say that wage increase was something that was, I think, unanimously supported by all members of the Fire Advisory Board from all of the different cities. That answered that. I'm sorry, that answered your question.
Yeah, I just want to give just a brief overview before we get any questions or any discussion about it. It seems like we've kind of got as close as we can get. There's going to be, like you said, nuances moving forward with just changes and just getting information on how the pilot program is working. Obviously, it's too early to get really any of that information at this point, so that's going to be a little bit of a moving target, which I think we're close enough at this point, so I'm good with that to continue moving forward. So I'm glad you have some thoughts out here. So, or if anybody has.
Well, I have some. And Adam, would you be willing, when we pull up Exhibit C, duty crew program, I think, in a nutshell, my opinion is, we have it's about $40,000 in increase due to the hourly wage increase, and there is $60,000 in the duty crew. So the operational budget plus the wage increase for the firefighters, and I'm 100% there now. So the question to me is the duty crew. And, you know, here's my concern. I mean, even on this, you can see up in the top there, it said this was first issued in 2023. The current revision was back from 2003. I don't know what happened.
It's probably,
I think that's a typo, it should be 2023.
Okay. And then at the bottom of this, it says that there will be an update to this in the next 3 weeks, I think it said. And that we were gonna get an update in the next, 3 weeks to the standard operating procedures of the duty crew. And where this, duty crew is different. James, do you mind coming forward? This duty crew is a volunteer model with the existing paid on call, and they sign up for shifts. And, James, would you just explain the difference between the two, just for the record?
Sure, absolutely. So, this one, they receive a stipend for volunteering to be on shift, right? So ours is different, where we're actually hiring part-time individuals to work during the day for those shifts.
And why did you, because we already went through this conversation, but just to bring us, everybody current, is why did we go with that versus the model that Long Lake is?
So I thought it would be easier to hire individuals that wanted to work during the day as part-time firefighters, and then they would eventually move on to be full-time firefighters, because there's a bigger group of them that want to do that out there. This model was just what Excelsior started with, and that's what Mike was familiar with, and they did well over there with that, so I believe that's why he chose this model.
And the issue that makes sense to me is the daytime responsiveness is our issue. Specifically out of station number 2's territory, we've been doing an all call during daytime, calling everybody. And the reason is because we don't have the same availability of firefighters available during daytime hours.
Correct. For the most part, they're working their full-time jobs, that's paying their mortgage and a lot of their bills and those types of things. So they're taking time out of their days to be able to fill these shifts, so.
So when you go to this volunteer model during the day, it's the same group of people, and therefore you have the same problem, because even, we can say it's really in early stages of the duty crew at Long Lake, but their model is trying to use the labor that they already know they have a shortage of, and they're not getting the slots filled.
I will say this, Matt, in the conversation with Chief Island and correctly with the Fire Advisory Board, but he showed kind of an increase in fill rates as the months went on. Is that what others had heard at the Fire Advisory Board meeting?
I mean, I can still talk to everything, correct? Yeah, sorry. Station 1, they said was still an issue. I think they had
Station 2.
or Station 2, excuse me, was still an issue to staff. Station 1, they were finding, I think it outlined that they were going to do 1 person at Station 1 from this, and they were building it actually up to 4 people at Station 1. At Station 2, I could probably pull it up. They provided us, I think, of all the shifts for October, maybe only 5 of them had 2 people, so a full shift.
I know, we also talked to other fire departments that had started the same model and found out that the problems that they were having was, for number 1, reliability, and number 2, the people that were coming and doing these daytime shifts were getting the credits, and then they weren't going to the on-call calls, so they were getting short on on-call calls, so they ended up being such a bad experience getting up in Plymouth, they abandoned that, just went to the full duty crew model, which they said was much better, which is obviously what we're doing.
Yeah, we utilized that model based off of Minnetonka and Plymouth and even Prairie and those larger cities that we're seeing a little more success with that.
I'm comfortable with pay increase, but my concern would be, are we, maybe I'm, stepping on Matt's toes saying the same thing, but are we
You're
answering?
not stepping on my toes if you're saying the same thing.
Well, what I'm saying is, I'm reiterating, but are we answering the problem at Station 2 daytime calls? Because by implementing the duty crew, and we've got proper response time from Station 1, which really wasn't a problem. I don't feel like we're addressing it.
Well, Station 2, we're gonna take that over in July. So we're gonna be implementing.
Some of the territories.
Yes, Department of Our territory, at least over there. But we don't have any information to see if theirs is working, and we won't have it moving forward, so
They give us a smattering of times, and it seems to be they're doing better with their turnout times. I don't think they're hitting too many goals, but I know they've improved that drastically, at least from what Mike's supplied us so far, so.
And I just like, yeah,
It would have been nice if he was here presenting.
You know, I thought that one applicant was him, actually.
Oh, yeah, he kind of looked like it, yeah.
I thought, oh, good, he's here.
Yeah, so the one thing to remember in this duty crew, again, is it's two different duty crew models. The one advantage, I think that, or the one good thing about what Long Lake Fire is trying to do is, one, they've acknowledged what was a long-standing problem, a long-standing goal to provide duty crews. They have chosen a different model than what we have chosen for the reasons said. But the one thing they are seeing decent response for volunteers at Station 1. So we are seeing that, and then there is an advantage to that to the entire call area. If you have 4 duty crew available during the daytime, even if they're coming from Station 1, they can get to the Station 2 cover area a lot faster than trying to pull just paid on-call guys who might be at their other places of employment. So there is an advantage. Some of it is not realized yet. I don't think in any structural change, organizational change of this magnitude, you're going to see it meet all its goals in 3 months. I think that's unrealistic. And what Long Lake is kind of asking for in this is to continue this program at I think a 60% funding rate, or 80% funding rate, to see if they can expand it and get it to grow and improve.
The other benefit that they're really seeing is that small group training, when they only have 3 or 4 people there, you can really get the hands-on piece to that, and that's a marked improvement. So.
I think they've been certifying more drivers
Yep,
too, so
exactly, that's what
it's very
you're
helpful where you can't do that.
That's positive.
Well, I agree that it's early and having patience with the process is acceptable. What to me is hard to get behind is this was dated in July, and it said in 3 weeks, the leadership team will continue to finalize the SOP, and we've asked, you guys have asked for more updates on how this is gonna, the standard operating procedure. All this could have been outlined to us in more detail, and it hasn't. And I think it's premature to, put taxpayers' money towards the program that they haven't completely outlined and updated, to us despite our asking. So, and then the other piece of that is they won't use any of our resources during this period either. We could put James in station number 2, serve as a duty crew member there, utilize that resource, ensure additional coverage for that area while we transition, and that's another piece that they're not allowing, and even going back even to, is it blue line? Blue card training, they're hiring outside parties to do blue line training, blue cards, and blue card training when we can provide it for free. And that is not cooperation, there has to be some to put our money. So again, where I'm at is the budget, the wage increases, I'm on board with the duty crew. I'm not supporting based on where we're at today. I think we can work it out, but we didn't get the updates from them to show that they're organizing it, and it's a lot of money.
The one thing in their defense from this July document is that they have provided updates to the fire advisory board in three of the meetings that we've had since then. So they haven't given us a written update to the procedures or planning documents, but they have been providing fairly regular updates.
So we know.
Regular, I I just got the one update at the last, along the way about times or performance.
I just,
We just had the one.
yeah,
That's
the ones that I've been to, they've provided an update.
Well, I mean, an update, but they don't have a plan, a written plan for it yet, because this one says that there's gonna be duty crews in both station 1 and station number 2. I mean, do we know that to be true?
They provided their monthly rosters to us at our last fire voucher report to show what their fill rates were.
Yeah, there's like one person at station.
Yep, that's where they were showing, that's,
Station
Councilmember Beach was talking about how, you
Yeah.
know, you can see on those that they're getting really good response rates for station 1, and at some points, I think, having 4. But station number 2, the response is usually 1, if any, and sometimes 2. And again, in talking with the administrator over at Long Lake, that is one of the things that they will have to be looking at in the new year is do we adjust the model, so that maybe they don't even attempt to try to fill station 2, as focus on station 1. Use those folks to respond to station 2. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different things that the chief and the team over there can do to try to keep growing the program.
So I agree with everything Matt said, but I think at this point, I think we need to move it forward. You guys can work as a staff to make sure, you know, the fire advisory board to make sure they're held accountable to that bringing the stuff that they're supposed to bring. So I know you can only vote on one of these, Maria, so I'll make a motion to approve the 2024 Long Lake operating budget, as pay and duty crew budget lines.
Second that.
Okay, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You know, if that passes 5-0, then Maria will recuse herself on the second one. And so I'll make a motion to approve the 2024 Long Lake Fire Operation Budget Fire Call and Training pay increases.
I'll second that.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Note that passes 4-1 abstention.
And there's, you know, and 1 day.
Oh, 1 day, okay.
Thank you.
Well, that was the pay increases.
What's that? Put that at duty crew?
That's the duty crew one.
It's duty crew and pay
And pay,
together.
yeah.
Okay, so I'm against.
So
Not
3-1
the
and 1.
duty crew portion, but.
Okay, so 3-1 and 1.
Or us.
It would have been 3.5.
Okay. It's incorrect.
Yeah, right.
Okay, well, that'll bring us to number 21. Ron, our final levy 2023 collectible in 2024, resolution 7436.
Thanks, Chief.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, this item is to adopt the 2024 collectible tax levy, which is used to fund our budget. We had our pre-taxation meeting 2 weeks ago. No one really spoke completely about the tax levy itself. There is one comment that was made during the TNT meeting that I would like to clear up. I reviewed this with the transfer feature of our new software today, and there was a comment made that said that not paying down debt is fiscally irresponsible. And we'd just like to let the citizens know that the city is paying down all of the debt that we are legally required to pay. And when it comes to bonds, this has to do with the debt service levy. When it comes to bonds, it's not as if we can just say we're repaying this bond early, or we're repaying a portion of this bond early. We can only pay these bonds when they're due, unless we do a formal council action to refund the whole bond issue, which I don't think there's any move to do that, and certainly that would take time. So I just wanted to clear that we are paying all of the debt that we are legally responsible to pay. With that said, the tax levy was going up 12.6%. It fully funds the operating budget in the general fund. It fully funds the Orono Fire Department, and it fully covers our debt service. If there's any other questions, the levy has not changed since it was adopted as the preliminary levy 3 months ago.
And tax rate is actually going down.
Tax rate is going down just a hair.
So I'm just going to say that I'm not in agreement and just reiterate that the 12.26 increase would be a 4% increase if we're not for the Orono Fire Department. Therefore, I do not support this resolution.
All right. Well, I'll make a motion to approve those resolution 7436, setting the 2023 collectible 2024 tax levy.
I'll second.
Mr. Crosby, all in favor say aye.
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 Opposed?
No.
That passes 4-1. Okay, that'll bring us to number 22, which is special revenue funds budgets 2024, resolution 7438.
And thank you, Mayor, that one again is me. There's not a whole lot to be said about the special revenue funds. We adopt budgets for these funds that are, we have restricted uses of the funds. So the park fund, its main funding source used to be park education fees, and they're restricted by law as to what they could be used for, and that's why it was created, the park, special revenue fund way before my time here. We now supplement those park education fees with a tax levy. The TIF fund, it was established with the building the Orono Woods Senior Building. It is used to, it was originally, its current purpose is to be used to pay off the bond, the bonds that the company who built Orono Woods took out. It's called pay as you go TIF district. And so that's why that one's separate. And the drug and felony forfeiture one has restrictions to it. Those are sometimes if there's a DWI and a car will be forfeited and sold at auction, those funds can only be used for traffic enforcement, DWI enforcement, and then if it's a drug forfeiture, those funds can only be used specifically for drug programs or policing. So that's why we have the special revenue funds. We do have a few other ones that we don't actually adopt budgets for. One would be like the Crystal Bay Lake Improvement District, where they come to us, we levy a special assessment on their behalf, so they don't have to go around knocking on doors collecting from neighbors. But since we're just a pass-through entity on that one, we don't actually adopt a formal budget. And I guess that's all I have to say about the special revenue funds. Unless anyone has some questions.
Any questions about the revenue funds? Okay, I'll make a motion to approve resolution 7438, 2024 special revenue funds budgets.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Note that passes 5-0. Okay, that'll bring us to number 23, which is fee schedule updates, ordinance 288.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And the document itself has a number of changes made to it. Most of them are minor and housekeeping in nature, I think. In the building and zoning, we added the words plus expenses to it. It really didn't change anything, it just cleared it up that, yes, people who are applying might have to pay additional expenses that are incurred by the city, which was always the case, but it just made it in the fee schedule. There was some wording changes to, and some amount changes to make what the police were charging when they made a photocopy for someone the same as what City Hall would do for a photocopy, and like I said, a lot of minor changes there. The bigger changes, or the changes most people are interested in, would be the utility rates. And if you remember, we actually adopted the utility rates at the last meeting so that we could communicate those changes to the citizens on the utility bills that were just met last week.
Thanks, Tom.
There.
I saw them come, they showed up.
There you go. And they're included in tonight's memo just because they're included as a section of the fee schedule as a whole. But the council already gave the approval of them 2 weeks ago. That's really all I have on fee schedule, unless someone has.
Any questions on the fee schedule? Okay, we have two motions that will make it at the same time here. Motion to one, adopt the ordinance 288 of the third series amending Title 1, Chapter 2 of the City Code related to the fee schedule, and number 2, approve a summary publication of ordinance 288.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Note that passes 5-0. Okay, that'll bring us to number 24, which is adopt 2024 capital improvement plan.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. The capital improvement plan, I'd like to start out by stating this is a planning document only. Approval of the capital improvement plan does not approve any individual expenditure. Since these are all big projects in them, when we move forward address coming back to council for approval. So this is more of a planning document. We use it when we're setting utility rates in the future. It accounts for all the infrastructure improvements needed for water, sewer, stormwater, public works with their trucks, the police department, the golf course, every department in the city that has capital or expensive equipment, or has big projects, we try to keep track of them so we can forecast tax needs and rate needs for the utility funds. And so I guess, anyone has any questions on it, we could talk about it, but the council has seen that before too. It was seen, talked about briefly last week, and will be available on the website by the end of the week once it's approved.
Any other questions for Ron on the improvement plan?
I don't have any questions. I just want to make a comment that I'm not in support of this capital improvement plan because of the expenditures that we are accruing towards Orono Fire Department, and also because of the one-time public safety money given to our city in the amount of $371,000 that could be used for other opportunities within public safety, but we are marking for the Orono Fire Department.
Motion to approve the 2024 CIP.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Can I second it?
Richard.
Oh, you said it, sorry. Got it.
Opposed?
No.
Okay, so the motion passes 4. That'll bring us to number 25, which is the final general fund budget 2024, resolution 7437.
It's, the budget, the general fund budget has really not changed since the adoption of the preliminary general fund budget. We shifted some numbers around as numbers came in and became more definite, but the total amount of the general fund budget is the same as was adopted in September. And short of that, once again, we had the truth taxation meeting last week that allowed public comment on the budget, and council to talk about the budget, and other than some comments about the Orono Fire Department, the public really had no comments on the general fund budget at all. So, if there's any questions, we can pull up some information, but otherwise, that's all I have.
Any questions on that?
No questions, just a comment that again, I don't support this planned expenditure related to Orono Fire Department. We're looking to spend over $772,000 next year, which is a 342% increase over this year. So I don't agree with this direction.
We're the lowest tax in the area. Motion to approve resolution 7437, adopting the 2024 general fund budget.
Second.
Councilman Johnson, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
That passes. Number 26 is enterprise funds budget 2024, resolution 7439.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. This is my last budget item. I do have one comment I would like to make as a result of last meeting's TNT meeting. The comment was made that the enterprise funds are referring to the enterprise funds as slush funds. That actually bothered me quite a bit because we work hard at setting our rates and setting what we need for the enterprise funds, and to refer to them as slush funds is just, thought that was rather uncalled for. Yes, they do have good fund balances. The last 2 years on water especially, we had droughts, so we far exceeded our revenue expectations. But if you go back 3 of the 4 years before that, we had incredibly wet seasons, and we were actually under budget on some of our water revenues, and it's all because those funds are very weather dependent. Another weather dependent fund that is a new one, we just moved the golf course back to an enterprise fund. That should be seen as a positive step. So we moved out of the general fund, so regular tax dollars will no longer be supporting the golf course fund, but the rest, a little bit off the utility funds. I think we do a great job of setting the budgets there. The rates were set in the 2019 rate study, once again, 2% for water, 2% for sewer, 1% for stormwater, significantly below the level of inflation. So I think we're doing a great job there. And some of that cash balance that's referred to as slush, I would just like to remind everybody that the sewer fund has over $21 million worth of infrastructure in the ground. It is expensive to maintain, it's expensive to replace, and that's why we have the rates set as we have. And the water fund has $9.3 million worth of infrastructure in the ground, or the water, in the case, could be a water tower, which is anything but in the ground. But that's why we have the water rates we do, that's why we have the sewer rates we do. And once again, the council has met, we've met with the budget committee, we met with the whole council, the work session, and the rates and regulations session. That's all I have to say about the enterprise budgets.
Okay, any questions about the enterprise budgets?
Thanks for your work, Ron.
Yeah, I think the big thing too on water and infrastructure, and correct me if I'm wrong, is it, you know, our population density, because it's a more rural area. You know, longer pipes, less people on them, but not as dense as the populated areas, so.
45 lift stations, we're taking
Right.
for 2,100 connections. That's a very high ratio of lift stations to connections.
And it's gonna be great for people when those pipes or sewer connections need to be replaced, that you're not being assessed on it at your home. Because that can be devastating to a lot of people.
And we planned very well to make sure all these budgets are taken care of, whether it's parks, whether it's engines, or cars, or snowplows, or roads. We do a fabulous job to make sure everything is budgeted and taken care of for citizens. On top of being the lowest tax rate around here.
Excellent job. Thank you.
Thanks for all your help over the years on that as well. Any other questions for Ron at all?
No, I appreciate everything you've taught me, Ron, and I think your forecasting is very impressive.
Okay, a motion to adopt resolution 7439 establishing the 2024 enterprise fund budgets.
So moved.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Okay, well, that'll bring us, well, let's go back to any other finance stuff. What, we have a slide for us.
I do have a slide. Before we get to the slide, I just want to take this opportunity to say it's been an mostly enjoyable 26 years. There's been a little stress at times, but you guys will be in good hands with me taking over. I have nothing but positive things to say about Amy, and she will, in about 6 months, you'll say, Ron, who? That'll be fine with me.
She might be calling you a lot.
You might be. So Adam, if you could pull up the permit slide. Ooh, how does that not show the whole slide?
It's not displaying well.
We had the same thing last time. We're gonna,
Put over this way.
here we go.
There,
That
yes.
was better.
Yes, and as you can see, I added a black line there, which is roughly the budget amount of $565,000. We are well above it at just a hair under 800,000 through November. So we will go over 800,000. We're definitely ahead of last year also. So that's the good news. There is extra building permit fees collected far over what was budgeted. I talked with Laura a little bit about this, and she's not here. Talk on her behalf. At the moment, we have Orono crossings. Well, that's all done. We had Stone Bay, it's built out. Lakeview Golf Course, the development has maybe a couple homes left. So we are running out of the big developments. So my suspicion is that we will come back down closer to the budgeted numbers, just because we don't have those big developments going on right now. But who knows? Maybe one of the two down Highway 12 here will, or County 112 will pop, and then we'll exceed budget. It's good news on the building permit revenue slide, and I'm presenting it on behalf of Laura because she didn't want to say goodbye to me. A little hurt about that.
Oh my God, that's the cutest thing ever.
Tuesday.
Oh.
It's still cute.
Oh, yeah, that's a good job. I mean, and there's not big dollar permits. That means it's a lot more work, 'cause it's a lot more applications for our staff.
that they'll still be the re-roofing and the re-siding and the additions.
The people tearing down houses.
Tearing down and
People like
re-roofing.
doing kitchens and models, I'm sure.
Like who?
I don't know.
Well, good job, Melanie, you're the only planning department up here, that's good. Thank you.
All right, well, that will bring us to our attorney report.
Mayor, members of the council, I don't have an update for tonight.
That brings us to our city administrator report, which brings us to our 27, appreciation for finance director Ron Olson, resolution 7435.
We could have put that on consent.
So, we do have a resolution here, I'd like to read it. It says it's a resolution of appreciation to Ronald J. Olson for his 26 years of dedicated service. Resolution number 7435. Whereas Ron Olson set the example for his fellow public servants with his positive attitude, calm demeanor, and service focus since being appointed as a management analyst / accountant on October 27, 1997. And whereas through hard work and technical competence, Ron quickly progressed to positions of increasing responsibility first by being promoted to assistant finance director in 1998 and culminating in his appointment as the Orono finance director in 2006. Whereas Ron's final acumen has been instrumental in the city's establishment and maintenance of a AAA bond rating since 2005, one of the relatively few municipalities of Orono's size to do so, as well as receiving 100% clean annual audit reports. And whereas Ron led the establishment and then the modernization of the city's information technology system, including the current network and communication system, as well as implementing of numerous software programs resulting in improved efficiencies and accuracy throughout the wide variety of city staff functions. And whereas Ron created the city's human resource function and then spearheaded the streamlining of the personnel system through the implementation of automated benefits, onboarding, and payroll. And whereas Ron Olson's 26 years of service have been characterized by professionalism, expertise, and dedication to providing the highest quality service to the city and its citizens. And now therefore be it resolved that the Orono City Council, staff, and residents wish to extend their utmost appreciation and gratitude to Ron Olson for his service to the community as a finance director, adopted by the City Council of Orono, Minnesota, at a regular meeting held this 11th day of December, 2023. Thank you, Ron. I have a motion to adopt the resolution.
So moved.
All second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. No, that passes 5-0. Ron, come up here for a picture with the scene. Come on. Okay.
So are we
Who's
going
got
to
a
take a picture?
Who's got a camera?
Thanks. Adam, get in here.
Yeah, come on, Adam. Ronald.
Okay. Got it, thanks.
All right, thank you. Thanks.
Pick up your lines.
We'll see you on Wednesday. A little cake and everything over there.
Yeah.
Hey, so I have the retirement party on Wednesday. Okay, so that brings us to council, or do you have any more city engineer administrator reports?
No, the staff focus over the last couple of weeks is really getting the budget finalized, as well as you mentioned before, finding a replacement for our finance director. So I'm very happy that we're able to accomplish both those things.
All right, well, that brings us to council committee reports. I'm not sure if we had any in the last couple of weeks.
We did not, I think that just got left on the
Okay.
title left on the.
Okay. Sometimes we have one night, we had one, so. Okay, public comments, so this will be limited to 3 minutes per person. It's an opportunity for the public to address the city council. The city council will not engage in discussion or take actions on items presented at this time. However, the council may refer issues to staff for follow-up or consideration at a future meeting. Staff should, or speakers should state their name and home address at the podium before speaking. We will invite the Orono residents first. When Orono residents are done, we will ask for any non-Orono residents to come up. If there's any Orono residents that would like to come up tonight.
Cheryl Paulson, 725 Stormway Drive, Orono. During the last city council meeting, 6 citizens came up during the truth and taxation agenda item, and 11 people came up to this podium during the public comments. That is 17 times people in this community wanted to give this council feedback. Our mayor likes to quote others, so here are some of his quotes prior to wrapping up the meeting. You know, it always amazes me when the cameras are around. The show that gets portrayed by the same 12 people who come up here every single meeting. That is what Jan and I asked me. What do you think about the people who will be coming? It's the same people, whether it's Pickleball or Leaderwood. It's the same people who come up and give us grief. When someone turns around and says you do not represent Orono, well, maybe it's the 12 people who from Orono do not like us here. But the people that are out there, that are watching, the people that I see day in and day out over all over Orono say we're doing the right thing. We're the champs of budgeting, and we are the envy of all the cities around, and everyone should tell their cities that they should be more like Orono. What we do speaks volumes. I am not convinced that other cities want to be like Orono right now. I agree that what you do speaks volumes. What you say about those who dare to challenge this council during public comments speaks volumes. How you behave speaks volumes. I'm only speaking for myself, but it takes a little bit of courage to come up here and address this council. I do so sadly knowing that what I say will probably not change anything. Standing up here does not come easy to me, it's not fun, but I do hope that when I choose to step out of my comfort zone, that you actually make an attempt to take in the information I am trying to relay. Why would anyone want to come up here and speak if they're chastised for it? Do you really think we come here to give you grief? Well, I can tell you that I, for one, want to continue to voice my concerns and hope that you'll listen with an open mind. The Orono Fire Department was a catalyst for me to wake up and pay attention, but the behavior that I see coming from some council members is disappointing. Lecturing citizens, knowingly defying court orders, the nonverbals during meetings, disrespecting fellow council members does not sit well with me. I want to see healthy debate during cities and council members before they take a vote, and I expect to see some disagreement. So please try to remain respectful to each other. For my part, I would like to apologize for any disrespect I've shown in the past by leaving city council meetings early out of frustration or clapping in agreement during public comments. I promise to do better. I will continue to come to meetings to listen, to learn, and to speak up. When I cannot attend, I will watch the videos. I'll encourage my neighbors to attend city council meetings. And lastly, I will vote in November. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else from Orono tonight? Seeing nobody else?
Do you have to go in order, or can you go after someone from out of the city?
You can go out of order if you want.
Okay, thank you.
But it's first for Orono residents. There's no more that want to come up first, then we'll open it up to the general. Anybody else that wants to just come up in general? No, yes.
Brad, you going?
Oh, is anybody else going? Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry.
Krista Berry, Valley View Road, Long Lake. So I always like to bring up just the awesome things that firefighters, Long Lake Fire Department is doing. They attended both cities' holiday tree layings, bringing Santa and participating with the community in the community events. And so I'm just here today to say this holiday season, as you guys wrap things up tonight and head home into the coming weeks with lots of family, I ask that you think long and hard about the men and women who will be ready to respond all holiday season. During Christmas parties and Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, as they spend time with their families, all of you and all of the city will remain a priority for them. And if duty calls, they will be torn away from their family time to respond, and they will do so as humble servants of this community. Tonight I ask you to consider what lies ahead for them, to truly spend some time this holiday season when we remember hope, peace, joy, and love. Remember that they have asked you not to split them up. Remember that everybody does better with a collective effort working together toward common goals. Remember that Long Lake does not want to work, or remember that Long Lake does want to work with you no matter what narrative you tell yourself. They do not want the power, they want to work together for the betterment of the community at large. Long Lake wants to build together with you a joint powers agreement. For those that aren't familiar with the idea, a joint powers agreement or a fire district is a trend among smaller local government units as it relates to fire service, in which local entities come together to pool resources and the governance of the department is transitioned to a board comprised of members from each city involved. This idea could potentially bring Orono's share of a fire service budget from 85% currently down to 49% if Orono, Long Lake, Medina, Minnetonka Beach, and Wayzata came together under a JPA. This is what Long Lake hopes to do. In fact, a proposal to begin working together under some type of JPA remains on the table, unanswered by Orono. You could be the answer to what they all hope this season, to stay together. At a bare minimum, go into the holidays with an open mind and an open heart, ready to go into mediation with the same openness.
Thank you. Anybody else from the general public?
Kelly Grady, 271 Reno Lane, Long Lake. Since I started trying to figure out fire, I've received criticism from a few of the members on council about my participation in this discussion. Why do you care? You don't even live here. The rhetoric is not only dismissive and ugly, but it is not rooted in the truth. You don't live here. While I'm not able to vote in Orono, make no mistake about it, my family lives our lives in Orono, and the decisions made by this council affect our daily life. Case in point, why do I care? My husband has been a Long Lake firefighter for nearly 8 years, and as such, fire decisions made here affect my family more than the majority of your voters. But these are not the only reasons why I care. 2 years ago today, my mom found my dad lying on the ground outside of their home and had to call 911. First responders arrived on the scene and did everything they could to save his life. My dad died as a result of sudden cardiac arrest that day. So I understand as much as anybody the need for effective and skilled first responders. For nearly a decade, this council has done everything but burn down the Long Lake Fire Department with their lack of support in ways that I believe have been a long play for control, including denial of nearly every capital improvement spend that would increase effectiveness of this department and set it up for future success. Refusal to negotiate a solution that didn't result in Orono having majority control. And third, but not lastly, all of the flagrant violations that Judge Miller noted in her order for contempt, using LLFD as a primary pool of recruits, intimidation of firefighters, not including Long Lake in planning that could tamper with their ability to serve under the existing contract for the next 2 years. And what kills me is that all of this is being done with zero community input. This is not effective governing. It is beyond irresponsible. It is reckless. And I know all too well that there is a human cost to playing with fire. So I am here to remind you, and perhaps inform the citizens, that there is still a proposal for a shared services agreement with Long Lake on the table. Orono does not have to go it alone. Call it a JPA, a shared service agreement, a fire service, a fire district, whatever. But coming together to share resources and fiscal responsibility is the future of fire service nationwide. This is the community's wake-up call to let them know that this council is making a deliberate choice to isolate themselves from surrounding communities. Mediation is scheduled for Thursday, January 30th, and I would encourage, Tuesday, January 30th, and I would encourage citizens to write this council and ask them to head into that mediation in good faith, and with a goal to work towards a solution that builds on the existing, effective, efficient, and excellent public safety entity that we currently have up, and not to burn it down.
Is there anybody else in the general public?
coal, if you don't know what that is. I heard you're good naughty. I don't think it's funny. I don't think it's funny at all. So Brad Erickson, 21150 Horseshoe Trail in Corcoran. So I'm down on my lot, much like I was the day the person drove up to me and told me about Mr. Crosby's involvement with the J6 thing and the Proud Boys and all that stuff, you know. Well, anyway, same thing happens to me on November 14th, but it has to do with you, Mr. Walsh, and that's why you're getting this better call. See, he rolls up and he says, have you heard about the rumor that's going on in the high school? And I said, how in the hell, and I'm sure I used a different word, but would I hear about a rumor at the high school? So he goes on to tell me about this rumor at the high school involving you and a high school kid, girl, right? Yeah, really unfortunate. So then I find out that there's a video online about it now on YouTube called Is the Orono Mayor Propositioning a Teenager or something. Here's the problem. I'm not done. Here's the problem for me. Why?
So I can say, I'll give you your time. But is this appropriate? Is there any?
We've already spoken about it. I've spoken with Chief Bardiak and I've spoken with an investigating officer today. So yes, it is appropriate. Has to do with Orono, has to do with Orono kids, has to do with me. You can be lucky it's not my goddamn daughter, I'll tell you that right now. So what's going on? You gonna answer these allegations, or are you just gonna sit there and shake your head and yell out fake news and false narrative and whatever it is that you think, you know, will get you out of this? It's over, dude. What's wrong with you? I think it's a drinking problem. You don't know where the boundaries are? You need to tighten up, bro. You need to check yourself. Get your drinking in line. Go get some treatment. You want to sue me? Sue me. Let's get this over with. I am about done. Get it? But I will be back here next year to continue until you're gone. This is despicable. I don't know. How could you even make this up? Somebody drove onto my lot. I was pressure washing equipment to tell me this. What's up? Somebody needs to sort this out. Somebody with some power, privilege, and authority. Okay? Because I know who it is. And I know who you are. And I believe her.
Anybody else would like to come up?
Can we get the coal out of here?
Well, I'd rather, sure.
Grab, would you mind grabbing?
It's a gift.
You can have it, thanks, though.
I don't want it. I've been good.
Hey, Turbine guy, Shane Wagner, 1386 West Point Road, lost a few seconds, but who cares? And Brad might be a little wound up, but I really hate to tell you all, Brad's on to something. You already here are looking at a survivor of sexual abuse in this community, like you wouldn't believe. And it wasn't just a family friend, it wasn't just a family member, it wasn't just a stranger, it was people from the School of Orono. This stuff happened in our community. It changed my life. Like none of you could understand. And that's what we're dealing with here. I'm not saying anything's true. I reported on it. I challenged Mr. Walsh to go to Mr. Wilkos and simply take a detective test and prove his innocence. That challenge is still out there. But if this is true, there is a victim in the community. And it's interesting because, you know, years ago, when my daughter was young, and she had friends over, I challenged her friends. And I talked to them not just about drugs in our community, but about abuse and what I had been through. And you know what I found out later? Because I had the strength to speak about my abuse, there was a girl being abused who found her own strength to stand up and speak and to help herself. And I found that out later, and that's why I speak of it. Not because of me, but because of what I can do to help others. And that is why I'm here today. And I'm not specifically accusing Mr. Welsh of a thing. I have heard there are things out here, and I would never accuse anybody of something so heinous, because I know what it can do when you do. But the allegations are out there, and they need to be addressed. And these kinds of allegations need to be addressed by our community. They really do. From what I understand, there's been a report made to the police department, and the police have waffled. Well, we don't know. We have jurisdiction. We have this. You know what? Everybody waffled when I was a kid. And look what happened to me. It is not time for waffling in this community when it comes to this. It's time to stand up, investigate, look, is it true or not, and move on. Find the truth. And it's up to our enforcement people to do that. Thank you.
Anybody else would like to come up and not
I'm Kathy Turbine, retired pediatrician, and I live on 475 Decker Drive. I have zero opinion about anybody in this room and their attributions that have been made this evening. But I will say that practicing pediatrics for a long time, I had innumerable children that were assaulted, and pedophilia and rape are routinely dismissed as nothing. I had a 2-year-old raped by her stepfather. I had, just before I retired, I had a young woman with morbid obesity who came into the office, and my partner, when the results of her test came back, treated her badly the next day. This is a common thing. Another thing is, my nephew was with Jacob Woodruff when he was kidnapped, raped, and murdered. And I just want to say, it has to be taken seriously. I am not saying anything about Mayor Walsh or anybody else in this room, but it's a real thing. It is usually somebody you know. In the case of Jacob, it was stranger objection, but the most common scenario is a family member, friend, uncle, brother, parent. And it's not just our community. People are talking about like, it's only here. It is not only here. It afflicts virtually every community, not just in the US. My husband grew up in another country, happened there. It's a common problem, and one of the biggest problems we have is people turn away from it. They don't want to think about it, because it is ugly. But you can't fix a problem that you can't name.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else? Close public comments, and we're going back to the mayor council reports. But before I get started, I will just tell you it is absolutely a lie. You know, one person saying he knows who it is, and you have another person saying it's a rumor, and he's the one who has the video proclaiming that there's.
Is this what you're really going to do? Is this what you're really going to do? No, is this what you're going to do? No, is this what you're going to do? It has nothing to do with time. Are you going to sit up here? Are you going to sit up here and tell me that what I had to say was nothing? Is that what you're going to do?
You're out of order.
No, I am not out of order. You are, sir.
You can't use whatever happened to you to try and attack somebody else.
No,
Sit down.
no, I know who you are. I've seen it.
Ugly.
I have seen it.
Ugly. Now sit down.
Exactly. Don't sit up here and denigrate other people at your report. You want to do that? You let everybody else come here and take you 3 minutes. The council mayor report is specifically about city business, not to defend yourself. Not to defend yourself. I don't care what you want to hear. I sat up there too. I know what it
You've
is.
had enough of your time.
I sat up there too. And you know what? I never been accused of that except by you, when you lied. When you lied and claimed I beat my kid bloody. That's the only, you did it. You did it right here. And it's on tape. You talk about city business up there, and you do not, you want to denigrate people, come down here. Come down here like everybody else.
You done?
Only if you leave people alone and you talk about city business.
Councilmember Johnson.
Well, we obviously hit an issue that's touched a lot of people in this community, you know, here, but and so, I don't know what role as like officials we play in that awareness, but whatever we can do, maybe there's something to talk about. I think the accusations, you know, that are directed at the mayor, I mean, I think it was tasteless. And it doesn't take away from Jay's horrible experience, and, you know, many of us are parents, and the idea of, you know, any child being harmed, you know, that hurts, and it lingers, clearly. And so, I'm sorry for the people that have had that experience, but at the same time, you know, these accusations coming and attacking the mayor, and, you know, Brad, you've been doing a good job just bringing your information, and so it was a little disappointing turn today.
I was disappointed too.
On
I was.
This isn't city business
so,
either.
I think
You want to defend Walsh, come down here and defend Walsh.
I think a big part of what we do on the council is, you know, is we
You defend him.
respond to what's being said. And so, on another note, you know, I'm glad a piece of the, you know, fire department is behind us tonight. I think that, you know, none of our concerns about, you know, the budgeting had anything to do with the performance of the firefighters, so I want to make that clear. It's about, you know, being financially responsible and making the right decisions for the city. So, but at the same time, I think getting that budget behind us, even though it wasn't quite ready due to the lack of information on the duty crews, I think that's a good piece to have behind us, and look forward to moving on that. So that's all I have.
Councilmember Benson.
Thank you, Mayor. I do just want to say, it's very hard to listen to these statements tonight, and I know coming from a helping profession as well, in mental health, how incredibly hard these issues are to cope with as adults, so I applaud all those who are able and willing to speak out about that. And I was going to refrain from making some other remarks here in light of these recent developments. It's just incredibly difficult to emotionally shift like that, but as somebody who values tackling issues regarding city business in a timely manner, I do feel the need to proceed with my remarks for the night. It is related to city business. And I do want to say that I did speak with our city administrator about the topic I plan to discuss tonight to ensure that my comments would not be in any violation of the rules that govern our closed sessions. And after discussing with our attorney, our city administrator assured me that they would not. So I do want to discuss something that happened at our December 4th closed session. A member of City Council, a fellow member, raised an issue of concern regarding the use of technology by council members at the dais during regular council meetings. And because this issue was not related to the legal strategy we were discussing that night, I am legally able to openly discuss this, so I'm going to do this in an effort to help resolve this going forward in the future, in the new year. During the meeting, the council members explained their concerns that other council members may be texting or otherwise communicating with members of the public during meetings. The issue at hand was whether or not sending or receiving electronic communications during meetings is a possible violation of open meeting law. And because the meeting was focused on litigation, the issue was not discussed at length. So So for the record, if a fellow member of council has concerns about possible open meeting law violations, I share those concerns. And to that end, I discussed the matter with our city administrator and also with the League of Minnesota Cities. There are no formal policies that exist governing the use of cell phones at the dais, and the League of Minnesota Cities attorney recommended that the matter be discussed as a council under the advisement of our city attorney. So since this issue was raised, I'd like to propose that it be addressed by this council in the new year. A work session could possibly be dedicated to the topic of open meeting law and the use of technology in meetings. This would be an opportunity to discuss as a body what policies or procedures we might implement going forward. I do fully support any measures that can be taken to comply with open meeting law at all times. And it's my belief that if a member of council has concerns about the use of cell phones in council meetings, the public may as well, and it's something that requires further discussion. So apart from this, I do want to say that this past year of service on the Orono City Council has been both challenging and also tremendously gratifying. I sincerely appreciate the opportunity to learn and grow in this role of council member, and it is one for which I have the utmost respect. I look forward to reconvening in the new year and send best wishes for a safe and happy holiday season to all. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilman Crosby.
I would just like to wish everybody Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays over the next couple of weeks. Be good to each other, enjoy your time, and have a wonderful time with your family.
Councilman Beach.
I just want to acknowledge a lot of pain in this room, and Brad, I did not mean to offend you, and I'm sorry if I did. I just think that one thing that I've been, in any communication that I've come across, is how we facilitate change. And I believe accountability to oneself is the first step. And sometimes finding time for that is
I've known about it for 3 weeks.
Okay, so again, I just wanted to buy time to let cooler heads prevail, because sometimes that's what we all need, and we need someone to help us do that.
And he knew I knew about it since the last meeting.
I understand. I just wanted to say that
Yeah,
as
you
far as,
did.
well, as far as the meetings go and communication, I have continued to try to build relationships. It takes a while. I'm really proud of the budget being passed tonight, because, I'm sorry, it's really distracting. But I thought it was very impressive of the budget being passed, and it's a step in the right direction. And I think that's something, and maybe a small win, but I think it is a step on what accountability to oneself, what trying to do what you can control makes a difference. So I want to acknowledge the pain and the hurt, encourage people to, when it's too hard to try to control everything else, all we can do is control ourselves. And coming together could be the healing solution that we need. And hopefully this holiday season, everyone has time to reflect, maybe have a little break, a breather from all of this,